In Southeast Asia, there's a country that most people have never heard of. It's not famous, it's not rich. And for decades, it wasn't even supposed to exist. Today, we're talking about Timor-Leste, also known as East Timor, one of the youngest countries in the world, and one with one of the most tragic stories. This is not a travel story. This is a story about survival. It's about a nation that was told, again and again, that it didn't matter. A nation that was forgotten, erased from the map, and left to die. But it refused. This is the story of the country that refused to disappear. So where exactly is Timor-Leste? If you look at a map, you'll find it on the eastern half of the island of Timor, wedged between Indonesia and Australia. It's a small country, roughly the size of New Jersey, with a population of just over 1 million people. But its location has always been its blessing and its curse. For centuries, powerful empires looked at Timor and didn't see people or culture. They saw a strategic piece of real estate. They saw control. And for a tiny island nation, being valuable often means being vulnerable. This prime location, sitting along crucial trade routes, made it a target. The story of Timor-Leste isn't just about its own people. It's about the shadows of giants fighting over its future. A future the Timorese people had little say in for a very, very long time. It all started in the 1500s, when Portuguese ships arrived. Like much of the world during the Age of Discovery, Timor-Leste was colonized. For over 400 years, Portugal ruled this small half of an island. For 400 years, the people had no voice, no independence, and no control over their own destiny. Their resources were exploited, their culture was suppressed, and their future was dictated from thousands of miles away. But something unusual happened here. While the rest of Southeast Asia was changing, decolonizing, and modernizing after World War II, Timor-Leste was essentially frozen in time. Portugal, under its own dictatorship for much of the 20th century, did almost nothing to develop the territory. There was no infrastructure, no investment in education, no preparation for what it means to be an independent nation. The Portuguese just held on, treating it as a forgotten outpost of a dying empire. And then, suddenly, everything changed. In 1974, a revolution in Portugal toppled the dictatorship. The new government had no interest in its old colonies, so they simply left. In 1975, after centuries of neglect, Portugal abandoned Timor-Leste almost overnight. For a brief, shining moment, the Timorese people seized their own destiny. They declared independence. For 9 days, Timor-Leste was a free country. 9 days. Then Indonesia invaded. What followed was one of the least talked about, yet most brutal occupations of the 20th century. For the next 24 years, Timor-Leste was subjected to a campaign of terror. It's estimated that nearly a third of the population, up to 200,000 people, died from violence, starvation, and disease. This wasn't a war fought on a distant battlefield. It was a war against the entire population. Villages were burned. Families were separated and disappeared. Speaking their native language was punished. The world, for the most part, looked away. Major powers, wanting to maintain good relations with Indonesia, stayed silent. Timor-Leste was effectively erased from the map, annexed as Indonesia's 27th province. There were no breaking news headlines, no international outcry. It was a silent genocide. But even in the darkest of times, the spirit of the Timorese people did not die. They refused to surrender. In the rugged mountains and dense jungles, a resistance movement was born. Ordinary people became extraordinary heroes. Farmers put down their tools and picked up old rifles to become guerrilla fighters. Teachers risked their lives to become secret messengers, passing information between resistance cells. Entire villages conspired in silence to feed and hide the fighters, knowing that if they were caught, the punishment would be death. Even children grew up understanding that survival itself was an act of rebellion. They fought a lonely war for decades, a struggle that seemed hopeless. But then, something unexpected began to shift. The truth started to leak out. Brave journalists smuggled out stories and footage. International activists and human rights groups began to raise their voices. The veil of silence that had protected Indonesia for so long started to tear. Slowly, painstakingly, the world finally started to pay attention to the forgotten island. The growing international pressure eventually forced a change. In 1999, after more than 2 decades of brutal occupation, the people of Timor-Leste were finally given a choice. A United Nations-sponsored referendum was held. The question was simple, but the stakes were life and death. Do you accept special autonomy under Indonesia, or do you choose full independence? It was a vote taken under the shadow of intimidation and threats. But the people were not afraid. They lined up for hours, some walking for days, to cast their ballots. The result was overwhelming. Nearly 80% voted for freedom. The response was immediate and savage. Pro-Indonesian militias, backed by elements of the military, unleashed a final, furious wave of violence. Cities were burned to the ground. Infrastructure was systematically destroyed. Hundreds of thousands of people were forced from their homes, herded across the border into West Timor. It was a scorched earth campaign designed to punish the Timorese for their choice and to ensure that if they were to have a country, it would be born from ashes. But this time, the world could not ignore it. The images of fire and terror were broadcast globally. The world had to act. International peacekeepers were deployed, and finally, the violence subsided. On May 20th, 2002, after centuries of colonization and a generation of brutal occupation, Timor-Leste officially became an independent country. It was born from ruins. The nation was poor, its infrastructure was destroyed, and its people were deeply traumatized by decades of loss. But for the first time in its history, it was free. Against all odds, against the silence of the world and the might of its oppressor, Timor-Leste existed. Its flag was raised, a symbol not just of a new nation, but of the unyielding power of human resilience. The country that was supposed to disappear had survived, but winning independence was only the beginning of the struggle. The fight for survival was over. The challenge of building a nation had just begun. How do you build a country from scratch when almost everything has been taken from you? How do you heal a nation's soul? In Part 2, we'll explore the incredible challenges Timor-Leste faces today. We'll look at its struggles with poverty, the curse and blessing of its vast oil wealth, and the quest to forge a new national identity from the ashes of its past. We'll ask the critical question, can Timor-Leste's future be as powerful as its history? If you want to continue this journey with me, make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss Part 2. Thanks for watching. In 1999, the people of Timor-Leste voted for freedom. After centuries of colonization and a brutal 24-year occupation, they chose independence, and the world celebrated. But freedom was only the beginning. It didn't bring stability, it didn't bring prosperity, and it definitely didn't bring peace. For Timor-Leste, independence raised a new, terrifying question. How do you build a country from scratch when almost everything has been burned to the ground? This is where the real struggle, the one that happens after the cameras leave, truly begins. This is the story of a nation built on pain and its fight to survive the future. When Timor-Leste officially became the world's newest country in 2002, it was starting from absolute zero. Imagine trying to build a nation with almost no functioning infrastructure. The occupation had left deep scars. Roads were destroyed, isolating communities. Schools were little more than empty buildings, with few teachers and even fewer resources. Hospitals were critically understaffed, unable to cope with the needs of a traumatized population. The economy was non-existent. Most people survived on subsistence farming, growing just enough to feed their families. Over 70% of the population lived in extreme poverty. It was one of the poorest countries on Earth, a nation of survivors with a flag, but not much else. And yet, hidden just off its shores, this tiny, broken nation was sitting on something incredibly valuable, something that could change everything. Beneath the Timor Sea, between Timor-Leste and its giant neighbor Australia, lies a vast reserve of oil and natural gas, worth billions and billions of dollars. For a fleeting moment, it seemed like a miracle. A lottery ticket for a country that had only known suffering. This was it. This was the answer to all of Timor-Leste's problems. Its future was secured. But history is full of cautionary tales. We call it the resource curse. Natural wealth doesn't always bring prosperity. Sometimes it brings dependence, corruption, and conflict. And Timor-Leste walked straight into that trap. It quickly became one of the most oil-dependent countries in the world. Over 90% of the government's revenue came from oil and gas. They used it to build roads, pay civil servants, and fund social programs. But they weren't building a diverse, sustainable economy. They were just spending oil money. And when global oil prices inevitably crashed, the entire country became fragile all over again. Here is a statistic that is both a source of great potential and great fear. More than 60% of Timor-Leste's population is under the age of 25, an entire country of young people. This youth bulge could be a demographic gift, a generation of energy and innovation ready to build the future, or it could be a ticking time bomb. Jobs are scarce. The education system, despite improvements, is struggling to prepare them for the modern world. Many young Timorese feel trapped, caught between the traditional village life of their parents and a globalized world they see on their phones but can't access. The question they face is simple, but terrifying. What happens when an entire generation loses hope? A nation's future rests on their shoulders, but right now, those shoulders have very little to carry. Imagine trying to build a national identity when you can't even agree on what language to speak. Timor-Leste has two official languages. The first is Portuguese, the language of the former colonizer, spoken by a tiny elite. The second is Tetum, the most widely spoken indigenous language. But that's not all. Because of the 24-year occupation, a huge portion of the population speaks fluent Indonesian. And scattered across the mountains are dozens of other local languages, each representing a unique culture. This linguistic puzzle is a symbol of a deeper confusion. Who are the Timorese now? Are they Asian, Pacific Islanders? A misplaced piece of the Portuguese-speaking world? Or are they something entirely new, forged in the fires of resistance? Timor-Leste isn't just building roads and schools. It's building the very idea of itself, piece by piece. During the darkest days of the occupation, when political and military resistance seemed impossible, the people of Timor-Leste found a shield in an unexpected place: the church. Today, over 97% of the population is Catholic, making it one of the most devoutly Catholic nations in Asia. But this wasn't just about faith. It was about survival. Churches became sanctuaries. Priests and nuns documented human rights abuses, protected activists, and used their international connections to tell the world what was happening. The church wasn't just a place of prayer. It was a center of resistance, a source of unity, and a symbol of national identity in the face of an occupying force that tried to erase it. Faith helped the Timorese people endure when politics and the world had completely failed them. So, is there any hope? After all the struggle, the poverty, the political instability, is there a path forward? The answer is yes. But it's not found in the oil fields or in grand government projects. It's found in the quiet resilience of its people. You can see it in community-based farming projects, where people are rediscovering sustainable agriculture. You can see it in grassroots education programs, driven by a deep desire for knowledge. And most of all, you can feel it in their fierce sense of national pride. Remember, their independence movement was one of the most remarkably peaceful and resilient in modern history. Timor-Leste didn't win its freedom with overwhelming power. It won with stubborn, unbreakable endurance. So, will Timor-Leste make it? The challenges are immense. It may never be a rich country. It may never be a powerful player on the world stage. But perhaps that's the wrong way to measure success. Its very existence is a victory. It's a testament to the human spirit's refusal to be extinguished. It's a powerful reminder that even the smallest, most broken nations can demand their place in the world and refuse to disappear. The story of Timor-Leste is far from over. In Part 3, we'll go deeper, exploring the vibrant culture, the challenges of daily life, and the stunning, hidden landscapes that few outsiders ever get to see. We'll ask the final question: can this young nation truly break free from its past and shape its own destiny? If you want to continue this journey with us, make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Like this video and let me know in the comments if you believe Timor-Leste's future can be brighter than its painful past. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in part 3. We've talked about the wars, the occupation, the long, hard fight for independence. But for a moment, let's slow down. Let's set aside the headlines and the history books. What is life actually like in Timor-Leste, one of the world's youngest and most forgotten nations? What does an ordinary day look like for the people who call this island home? Forget the grand narratives of politics for a minute. This is the story of daily life, of survival, and of a quiet, resilient spirit that the world has largely overlooked. What does it mean to wake up, to work, to eat, and to dream in a country that is still learning how to be itself? Let's find out. Most people in Timor-Leste don't live in bustling cities. Their world isn't defined by office buildings or traffic jams. Instead, life unfolds in small villages, nestled among rolling hills, terraced farms, and the turquoise sea. Here, the rhythm of life is set by the sun and the seasons, not by the clock. Families often grow their own food. Fields of corn, rice paddies, and gardens full of vegetables are not just scenery. They're the source of life. And of course, there's coffee. Life moves at a different pace here. There's no rush, no pressure to be constantly busy. It's a life with challenges, for sure. Electricity can be unreliable, and internet access is a luxury few can afford. But what they lack in modern infrastructure, they make up for in something far more valuable: community. People here rely on each other, neighbors, our family. This deep-rooted interdependence isn't a choice. It's a legacy born from centuries of having to depend on one another to survive. It's a social fabric woven from shared struggle and shared strength. Here is something that might surprise you. Timor-Leste produces some of the most sought-after organic coffee in the world. Hidden in the highland forests, these coffee beans are grown by small-scale farmers, often using methods passed down through generations. But coffee here is so much more than just a morning drink or a commodity. For thousands of families, it's a lifeline. It's the primary, and sometimes only, source of income, allowing them to pay for their children's education, healthcare, and basic necessities. When you hold a cup of Timorese coffee, you're not just tasting its rich, smooth flavor. You're tasting a history of survival, a story of patience through conflict, and the incredible resilience of a people who have cultivated hope from the soil itself. It's a quiet testament to their ability to create something beautiful and valuable against all odds. Timorese culture is not one you can read in a book. It's one you have to hear. It's a culture that lives in the spoken word, in melody, and in ritual. For centuries, stories have been passed down not through writing, but through the human voice, through the rhythm of music, and through ceremonial dance. Traditional dances are living libraries. They tell the epic stories of ancestors. They reenact the long struggle for freedom. They celebrate the spirits of nature, and they connect the living with the world beyond. Music here isn't just entertainment, it's a form of memory. It's how a community remembers who they are, where they came from, and what they've endured. It's the thread that connects the past to the present, ensuring that the lessons and legacies of their elders are never forgotten, echoing through the mountains and valleys. The food of Timor-Leste reflects the essence of the country itself. It's simple, honest, and deeply meaningful. You won't find elaborate, complex dishes here. The staple foods are rice, corn, and fresh fish caught from the surrounding seas, flavored with local spices, tamarind, and chili. But the most important ingredient is connection. Meals are always shared. The idea of eating alone is almost foreign. Food isn't about luxury or culinary artistry. It's about community, generosity, and reinforcing social bonds. Sitting down to eat together is a daily ritual, a quiet reminder of a fundamental truth that has guided Timorese society for generations. No one survives alone. Every shared meal is an act of communion, a celebration of their collective strength and a testament to the fact that their well-being is intertwined. Timor-Leste may be considered poor by economic standards, but in terms of natural wealth, it is unimaginably rich. This is a hidden paradise, a land that mass tourism has thankfully forgotten. Imagine crystal-clear waters lapping against pristine beaches with no hotels or crowds in sight. Beneath the surface lies a world of vibrant coral reefs, some of the most biodiverse on the planet. offering world-class diving that only a handful of people have ever experienced. Inland, you'll find lush green mountains, dramatic cliffs, and cascading waterfalls hidden deep within the forests. It's one of the last places on Earth that still feels wild, raw, and unclaimed by the commercial world. It's a powerful reminder that the greatest treasures are not man-made, but are the quiet, untouched wonders of nature itself. It's important to remember that Timor-Leste is not a finished product. It's a nation still in its infancy, a country still learning about itself. After centuries of colonization and a brutal 24-year occupation, it is now figuring out how to govern, how to build a modern education system from scratch, and how to develop its economy without sacrificing its culture or its soul. There will be mistakes along the way, that's inevitable for any young nation, but there is one crucial difference here. Unlike many countries that take their sovereignty for granted, Timor-Leste knows intimately, painfully, the cost of losing control. That collective memory, that scar, is not a weakness. It is a guide. It shapes every political debate, every community decision, and every hope for the future. The future of Timor-Leste probably won't be loud or flashy. You're not going to see a skyline of glittering skyscrapers or hear boasts of global dominance. And maybe, just maybe, that's the entire point. This isn't a nation chasing the same definition of success as everyone else. Its strength isn't measured in GDP or military power. It lies in something far more profound, in the resilience of its people, in the power of its memory, and in the unwavering bonds of its community. In a world obsessed with growth and noise, Timor-Leste offers a different lesson. It teaches us that sometimes the greatest victory is not about conquering the world, but simply about enduring. Sometimes survival itself is the ultimate success. Timor-Leste is more than just a small island nation. It's a living, breathing testament to the human spirit. It's proof that even the smallest countries can endure unimaginable hardship, and still, against all odds, choose peace, choose forgiveness, and choose to rebuild. If you found this deep dive into one of the world's most overlooked nations meaningful, please subscribe to the channel and like the video. And let me know in the comments which hidden nation or untold story you want us to explore next. There are so many stories left to be told, and we're just getting started. Thanks for watching.